There's been a passage that's been on my head the last few weeks. I mentioned that I've been studying through the Psalms as well to get the year started. But this is actually from Ephesians 4, but we'll go back to the Psalms in a second too to show you how all it connects. There's a verse that I've heard my whole life. I've taught it, I've heard it taught, but I think it might be a little different than what I've always understood it to mean. It says this in Psalm 4, verse 26: Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. So I've always heard that to mean that if you're mad at somebody, make sure you go solve that before you go to bed. If you're mad at your spouse, make sure you have a good conversation before you go to sleep that night. When you compare that to Psalm 4:4, which is where Paul's quoting this verse from, it actually says to do something a little different than go talk to that person. Here's what Psalm 4:4 says. It says, Be angry and do not sin. That's the exact quote. And then he's going to tell us how we don't let the sun go down on our wrath. So this is the specific actions we take to fulfill what Ephesians 4 says to do. He says, On your bed, so while you're laying on your bed, reflect in your heart or speak in your heart, talk in your heart, have a conversation in your heart. I think this is most likely referring to the fact that we need to talk to God about what's making us angry and be still. Well, what does he mean by be still? He could simply mean take no action. Oftentimes in Hebrew, when the word be still is used, this particular word, it means to take no action. But it's even more than that. He goes on to explain what be still means in the second part of verse 5. He says, Trust in the Lord. So, how do we navigate through anger as believers? How are we angry and yet we don't sin in our anger? How do we not let the sun go down on our wrath? We talk to God about what's making us angry, and then we trust Him to take care of it. And by the way, that doesn't mean take care of the source of the anger, whoever's making us angry. That means trust Him completely. We trust Him to be the source of, as Psalm 4 goes on to say, read it later when you get a chance, the source of good, the only source of good, the source of peace, shalom, wholeness, joy, pleasure. God alone provides these things to us. So we trust Him to provide for us what we fear someone else might be taking away from us and causing us to be angry. And that's how we navigate through our anger. We are angry and we don't sin by having a great conversation with God about what's making us angry and then being still. In other words, trusting Him to be the only source of good and joy that there is in the universe.